Hey, soccer fans, welcome back to the Feed the Fire podcast. I am your host, Nick, and in this episode, we are recapping the Chicago Fire's loss at Seattle, as well as taking a look at some headlines from around the league, catching up on a little Copa America action. But also, you'll notice that I am not wearing my typical Return to Red Chicago Fire jersey. I am wearing my black jersey from fraternity days when I was with Tau Kappa Epsilon back at the University of Illinois. I think the black is appropriate for the mood around both the Chicago Fire and USMNT fan bases. And honestly, I was at the park playing soccer with my son and some of his friends before this, so I just kept the t-shirt on. There's that. But yeah, definitely a somber mood as we recap just a terrible loss by the Chicago Fire and what looks to be a hopeless situation for the USMNT as well. Before we get into all of that, I want to remind you of our new partner, Sports Spider. If you're tired of searching multiple websites for sports news, SportsSpider.com has you covered. They collect the latest articles, videos, podcasts from all over the web and organize them by your favorite teams. If you want to stay as updated as possible on the Fire, hit the link in the description or go to Sports Spider, that's Spider with a Y, SportsSpider.com. And it's an aggregator website, and they really do. They find everything about the Fire. The little hidden articles from like some of the local newspapers as well also get pulled in there, and we are their featured Chicago Fire content, so we're at the top of the page. Make sure you go check them out. Click through things there. Help us out as well. You can still reach me at Glasshouse Soccer on social media, as well as email me glasshousesoccer@gmail.com. Always looking forward to talking and writing and discussing things with the fans. And we get another email from a friend of the show, Ryan, who says, "Simple things hurt the Fire so much." And he says, "Nick, just like the subject says, they make simple things seem so hard. The team is tied for first, conceding 6 PKs so far. Seems more than that." Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ryan. It does seem more than that. I think they've had at least 2, probably 3 or 4 PKs overturned by VAR. There was one in this Seattle game as well. So yeah, it does seem like a lot more. Also seems like a lot more because they're conceding so many goals from inside the 18-yard box. Ryan continues, "Spacing. There are multiple times every game where you can find 3+ players all within 10 yards of each other." And Ryan, you're right there. You see it on offense. They don't, and this is a product of not having any sort of tactical coaching. A guy will pick up the ball and start dribbling and then dribble into another player, or on defense, they're not either zonally marking or man marking. They're just kind of out there occupying space, which is why runners can get in on the far post that we've seen a lot of the time, why guys are getting free headers on set pieces. They're just kind of like marking. It's not zonal marking, but they're just like marking space. So yeah, there's no tactical coaching, and guys are bunching up at different places of the field. You're right there. Throw-ins, minus the long throws from Turan, seem like the Fire might as well give the ball back. We can't take advantage on counter opportunities. Frank plays for the tie too much, on and on. And yeah, you're absolutely right. How many times Klopas says like, "Oh, a road point is a good result." Well, if you're going to play for the tie, you're going to lose. If you play for the win, maybe you tie. Like he just doesn't understand that. He's got so many stupid coaching maxims that he doesn't look at the obvious. So I'm with you on that one, Ryan. Ryan continues, "I'm not sure I can say many positives to take from this one. You know who needs practice? Those announcers. With those technical difficulties, I felt lost because they couldn't describe what was going on. Looking forward to the episodes this week." Thank you, Ryan, for the kind words, for the email. Yeah, those technical difficulties were something, and that's a good transition into our Seattle Sounders review here. Let's get the goofy stuff out of the way first. The last 15 minutes or so of that game, the broadcast the camera was only the field level camera. There was a power outage around Seattle. The whole area where the stadium is located was down, including the Mariners game. They had delays, they had issues. So the only camera that was working when the power went out was the field level cam, or the butt cam. And I don't know if they had the broadcasters live in stadium. It seemed like they were broadcasting from a different location, which is why they had no idea what was going on. Or maybe they were just so stunned. But you got to be ready for these kind of things when you're doing live sports and live broadcastings or live anything. So yeah, it was really odd. And also people were worried that the tackle on Jordan Morris that led to that stoppage time penalty and ultimately the Seattle Sounders winning goal didn't get reviewed in VAR. But that was not the case. They had another VAR booth at an offsite location that actually did review it, or at least did a check on it. And yeah, if you slow down even the field level camera view, you can see that Jordan Morris gets right in front of Chihos, who just kicks him in the back of the leg, and an appropriately called penalty, as much as it pains me as a Fire fan to say it. So that was kind of the goofy stuff from the field level. And as far as the Seattle side of things, like we knew that Ruidíaz or Nuhu were not going to be available in this game. They were serving a coach-mandated suspension for essentially being bad teammates after the last match. Not that it really mattered here. With that out of the way, now let's turn to the actual match itself. It was a really good start by the Fire. And if you look at the 5-minute possession increments on MLSsoccer.com's stats page, you see like the Fire dominate the first 20-25 minutes and they control the first half. But then it slowly whittles its way, and then at halftime, it's all Seattle from there. But I was quite surprised by how much the Fire controlled the first half. They played a really good possession game, with the back line really moving the ball around and maintaining possession against a pressing Seattle team. That's about all the good things I'll say about the back line, though. We'll get to them later. But offensively, the Fire created 2 opportunities within the first 5 minutes. Marin Haile Selassie's goal was a great result of the high press when the Fire earned a turnover like right around the middle of the field. I think it was like right on the half line there, off to the left side as you're watching, as the Fire are attacking. They turn around and play the ball right up to Haile Selassie. It was a turnover and either a short pass to the Fire player that was close by or a straight ball to Haile Selassie, who does a quick turn. I can't remember if it was Chu or if it was another defender. Megs him, gets in on goal, and just slots it home, right? Just puts it off the pitch, maybe about like 6-8 inches, and just finds it on the far post. And it was a great play. And that's exactly how the Fire have been wanting to play lately, at least I think, because I can't figure out their style. I can't figure out their tactics. It's like sometimes they want to play possession up the wing. Other times they want to play long ball to Kuiper, and other times they want to play this high line of confrontation, high press, and then, turn over and go kind of soccer. I don't understand what it is. I don't know if Klopas is trying different things week to week. I don't think he's smart enough to like say, okay, guys, we're going to try this different style this week. I think it's just whatever the players feel like doing in the moment, really. But it worked. It worked this first half. The problem was they couldn't convert any of the other opportunities. And I'm sure a lot of you out there were wondering if this is the same storyline for the Fire. If the Seattle game was going to be the same old, well, they had a good first half but didn't convert enough of their chances, and so they're going to blow the lead in the second half. And we've seen it happen time and time again over the last several years. But in this match, it really highlighted that the Fire's issues are a lot more than that. The issues are a lot more than just, well, we didn't score the goals, we didn't score opportunities, and the other team did, and that's the difference. It was a really good game. We played great, and they scored, they converted, and we didn't. No. It is a lot more than that. And this game really highlighted the struggles that the Chicago Fire are having as a soccer team. Now, one of the biggest problems with this match was that Turan went down injured in the first half, and the Fire really lost that ability to cover the center of the field. Turan was, over the last several games, the Fire's best defender, and he was responsible for covering whichever attacking player the other team would send up the middle. And he was shutting them down. He was stepping up when he needed to. He could drop back and cover space if he needed to. He was playing so well, shutting down the opposing's first choice attack and their strikers. With him out now, that really exposed the Fire to being counterattacked up the middle as well as the wings, and we'll talk about the wing play in a little bit. Mauricio Pineda has not had a good stretch of games, last 2-3 games or so. I think he's a serviceable center back when in the right formation. I would prefer to see him as a defensive midfielder. I think he is an excellent passer, but in Klopas's mind, well, if I put Pineda as a D-mid, what am I supposed to do with Gaston Jimenez and Fabian Herbers? He wants to get those guys in, so that means Pineda has to play center back. I don't like it. I don't like weakening one. I don't like weakening two positions to get like your second options in two positions. I'd rather have like my first option in one and a third option in the other, because at least that way you know that's the one position that's weaker, and you can occupy it and you can game plan for it. Assuming you know how to game plan. I compared it to an episodes past on the podcast, an NFL offensive line. If your left tackle gets hurt, you don't move your right tackle to left tackle and then put in a new right tackle. No, you just put in a new left tackle, and you know then that's your position of weakness, and you have to game plan for that. You don't weaken two positions to cover for one. All right, let's see what else was going on here. Yeah, so there's a lot more at play. Sorry, I was just going over my notes there. There's a lot more at play than just, the Fire didn't convert and Seattle did. And speaking of Teran going down and not bringing in another center back, I got a good question from Kyle on Twitter, who you can follow along at specialK_CF97. Kyle asked if the Fire would be looking to sign a center back this summer or bring up a CF2 player to fill that position. My thought was the Fire won't be, at least they shouldn't be, signing any center backs. They shouldn't be signing anybody this summer transfer window. Let's be honest. This is a waste of a season, and to bring players into this, it's just going to be a waste of time, salary, and signings and roster spots. So there's no point in bringing in any player, particularly a new center back, because this coaching staff isn't it, and this front office doesn't look to be it either. And I'm slowly turning back to the fire everyone model, fire everyone approach, right, that I was at the end of last season. Congratulations, Fire. You made me get to the point where I want you to fire everyone before the All-Star game, before League's Cup, whereas at last season, at least I waited to the end of the year to do it. So way to go there, Chicago Fire organization. But yeah, I don't think they go out and make a desperate signing, because again, it is a throwaway year. I would say, yeah, now's the time to bring up a center back from CF2, but I don't know. First of all, I don't know the roster that well, and secondly, I don't think they have any mature player, because if you're going to bring up a 19 or 20-year-old player to play on the first team, usually those are more attacking players, or goalkeeper in this case, in the Fire's case. I don't think you want to bring up a center back who maybe isn't physically mature enough or big and strong enough, I'll just put it that way, to go up against some of these MLS attackers. On the flip side, though, and also before I get to the flip side, and also I don't think this coaching staff, Klopas and co, know how to integrate CF2 players. I don't even think they know who's on the CF2 roster. They don't even know who's on their own roster, because they're not using the guys at the end of their bench, like Wyatt Olmsberg. Like, this is the guy who, in my opinion, is a competent MLS center back on his worst day. Like, we saw him 2 years ago playing very, very well before he went down with injury. He beat out Carlos Teran for the starting spot 2 years ago, and then when he went down with injury, Teran came in and became the star. Can I even say that? Became the player that we are now. And the more I think about it, maybe Olmsberg didn't beat him out, but Teran was injured. Olmsberg got the start, played well, and when Teran was healthy, they did not go back to Teran. So I guess maybe beating him out isn't totally wrong, but that was the situation as I recall, at least. But he's been sitting either on the end of the bench or down with CF2 for the last year or so. Not just the last current season, but like the last year or so. I don't know what is going on between Klopas and Olmsberg, or that coaching staff and Olmsberg. Is it because they think Olmsberg was a C.J. Brown guy and C.J. Brown's gone now, so they don't want him? But the fact of the matter is, Pineda's struggling. You're trying to play some sort of ridiculous three center back formation with two wing backs, or you're trying to play a 5-man back line on occasion, and you don't have the guys to do it. Chios has lost a step. He needs more time to rest, given his age and miles on his legs, and his performance this season. He's given up a few penalties himself. So the fact that they're not bringing in Olmsberg just baffles me. But I think he might be their last option at this point, because they shouldn't be signing anybody, and I doubt there's anyone on CF2 who's going to step up and make the leap as a center back from MLS Next Pro to Major League Soccer. Also, looking at this game, where it is not just, the Fire didn't convert their chances, this game again highlighted how the defense is totally out of position and out of sync since moving to Dean and Aragoni as wingbacks. The experiment should have been over a long time ago. The experiment should not have lasted more than one game this season. And the whole experiment of 3 center backs with wingbacks that Ezra Hendrickson tried to do that never worked. I don't think the Fire have gotten a point from a game where they've used 3 center backs in the last 3 seasons. In like a true 3 center back with wingback type of position. So that needs to be over. And I'll put a little asterisk on it because when there is a healthy Andrew Gutman, then you can work some offense with him. But this team needs to be running their offense through the middle of the field, like through your strength. People talk about having a strong spine of the team defensively. No, you need to have a strong spine of the team for your full game plan, offense and defense. And that starts with Chris Brady, Carlos Turan, Kellen Acosta, Brian Gutierrez, Hugo Kuipers. That is the strength of the team up the middle. If you had a healthy Andrew Gutman, then maybe you would think about moving Guti to the wing, keeping Shaqiri in the middle, because Gutman can play off of Gutierrez and Kuipers or Selassie if they want to try and play like a 4-3-3 type of thing, which I'm surprised we haven't seen them try it this year. Maybe that's the next thing Klopas is going to do. Trot out a 4-3-3 and just see what happens. But the fact is your best players are up the middle. So the fact that you're trying to run your offense through Jonathan Dean and Alana Aragoni just shows you that there's nothing going on with the coaching staff. Like they just can't. It boggles my mind. I don't know why you would run this team. Generally speaking, I don't know why you'd run your offense through your wingbacks. They need to be contributors to the offense in this particular system, but not the ones initiating the offense. And that's what it's looking like this team is trying to do. At least it looked like it in this game, and that's why the defense had so much of the ball. And kudos in the first half, they maintained it. In the second half, it fell apart. Now, getting back to Jonathan Dean here, Dean has been exposed as the weak link for the Chicago Fire's defense. When the opposing team sees him starting, they attack him. And I think that's borne out in my eye test and statistics. Go find heat maps, go find whatever charts that show where other teams have possession, and even go look at Jonathan Dean's defensive actions. I think he's got more defensive actions than any Fire player in this match in probably the last couple or 3. Opposing teams are targeting Jonathan Dean. Now, I like Jonathan Dean as a player. I think he was a good signing. I think he's a good backup outside back. I think he's, in general, a decent defender. But for him to start week in and week out, for him to be asked to initiate the attack and then get back on defense, for him to be asked to play one-on-one defense outside on the wing, he is not that kind of player. Number 1, he's not that good. Number 2, he's not that kind of player. And number 3, the coaching staff doesn't know how to evaluate their own players. They're just putting formations out there to see what can happen. When Dean was playing well during the course of his Fire tenure, it was Aragoni and Gutman pushing up. It was him coming in as an outside back, spot starts, defensive, subs coming in. Or when there was a true 5-man back line and he had help from the left or right center back. So Dean is showing that he may not be MLS quality, but he's not being put in a place to succeed. And I have always defended him, but I think now he's been very much exposed. Other teams know it, and yet our coaching staff has not figured out how to counteract it. Speaking of our coaching staff, there were no adjustments at all during this game. At the beginning of the second half, Seattle comes out of the locker room, takes the momentum. Rusnak ties it in the 57th minute. Klopas does not make a sub until the 85th minute. Yes, I know there was the injury sub for Turan, but still, 28 minutes after the goal, when the momentum has completely shifted, that's when he brings in 3 of his subs. Offensively, there was no offense. Kuipers, your $12 million DP center forward striker, no shots. No shots. Not shots on goal. He had no shots. Did not attempt a shot in this match. And again, there's no urgency for this Fire team to score. Now, if I can sit in my basement and do a podcast and tell you exactly how Seattle is going to play, and you as the Chicago Fire coaching staff can't game plan for it, then you as a Chicago Fire coaching staff need to resign. Don't wait to get fired. Resign. Walk away. You're only going to make things worse. Anyway, here are the stats from the match. That's all I'll say is my commentary on the match. Let's talk about the stats a little bit here. The Chicago Fire ended up with 48% possession, 8 shots, 4 on goal. They blocked 2 shots, had 489. Let me see. Can I zoom in here? 489 total passes with about a 79% passing accuracy. Lots of turnovers in that second half. They only took 2 corners, only had 4 crosses, no offside, so you could see they were not pushing forward. They won 5 aerial duels compared to Seattle's 13. They had an XG of 1. Brady made 4 saves. I think he could have done a little better on that second penalty kick. 4 clearances for the defense, 17 fouls, 2 yellow cards, no reds, thankfully. As far as the advanced metrics here, only 1 XG. So the Fire had 8 shots and had an XG of 1. So that is roughly a 12% chance average of scoring a goal per shot. Again, they're not creating high quality opportunities. To end this Chicago Fire segment, a little bit of trivia, something you can bring to the water cooler, or to the bar, or to the tailgate. Chris Brady is now the 5th Fire goalkeeper with 50 starts, which is crazy considering that's like 2 seasons in MLS. Like, he had like no goalie, or I should say only 5 goalies have lasted like 2+ seasons with the Chicago Fire. The others, I'll give you a second here. See if you can think of the other 4 goalkeepers with 50 starts for the Chicago Fire. They're going to be obvious as soon as I read them. Zach Thornton, Sean Johnson, and John Bush. By the way, Chris Brady, the 11th goalkeeper since Sean Johnson left. So you can see it's been a bit of a revolving door until Gaga and Brady got here. And even then, Gaga we all knew he'd be going someplace better after this. All right, I'm going to take this moment now to have our water break here. Remind everyone that this show is sponsored by Skira Icelandic Spring Water. Icelandic for clear, Skira water comes from a spring in a government-protected nature preserve in Iceland with naturally low mineral content. This isn't your average water. Clearly, pun intended, it's one of the best. And you can go out and get yourself a bottle or 3 of Skira Icelandic Spring Water at your local 7-Eleven. And with the July 4th holiday coming up, with the real heat wave of the summer coming up, I've been hearing for our fellow listeners across the pond, I've been hearing there's a bit of a heat wave going on in the UK. So I don't know if you get Skira over there in London town or anywhere else, but if you're here in the States, pop into your local 7-Eleven and get yourself a bottle, 2 or 3 of Skira Icelandic Spring Water. Now, we have been going on here for about 24 minutes or so, so let me just run through a couple quick things here. Some MLS headlines that I wanted to talk about has to do, and we'll do more Copa America in the next episode for sure. Congrats, Canada, you're through. Let's go USA. Panama's winning as the game is being played right now. USA playing Uruguay, so we'll see how that goes. We'll get into that in the next episode as we preview the Fire's next match. But some big coaching news around MLS. San Jose has fired head coach Luchi Gonzalez, and St. Louis just today, July 1st, has parted ways. Yeah, they canned him. Their head coach Bradley Carnell. Now, St. Louis, I mean, we know San Jose has been terrible, bottom of the league since the season started, pretty much. But St. Louis, weren't they having a good year? Well, they certainly had a great year last year, and he was runner-up for Coach of the Year. But this year, they're only 19 points in 20 games. So this is now 6 head coaches who have been fired this season. Luchi Gonzalez of San Jose, Gary Smith of Nashville, Nico Estevez Dallas, Gonzalo Pineda Atlanta, Bradley Carnell St. Louis, and I'm going to throw in Adrian Heath, who was let go like the week before the season started. That is 6 clubs who have fired coaches this season. And if you remember in the offseason, at least New England, Portland, and Charlotte all got new coaches. So that's 9 teams that have new coaches in the last year, and there's 29 MLS clubs. So a third of the MLS has turned over their coaching roster in the last year, at least a third. And the Chicago Fire are sticking with Frank Lopez. That's how I'm going to leave it tonight, everyone. We're going to jump in for another episode in a couple days. Please make sure you share the show, like, subscribe, follow, do all those great stuff to help drive up the metrics online. Email me, glasshouseSoccer@gmail.com, or follow along at GlassHouseSoccer on social media. Please, please visit the show through Sports Spider. Share the show with all your friends. If you absolutely hate everything I've been saying, then share the show with all the people you don't like. Share it with your enemies. And as always, let's go Fire.